Hello and welcome to our new academy on prayer. I have been thinking about prayer a lot recently, and I've been doing loads of research on prayer. I'll be honest with you, I really believe in prayer because I've spent a lot of time praying, and I've spent a lot of time in corporate prayer and stuff, and I really see the benefits of prayer. And I've always wondered why people don't want to pray more, and why we don't see lots and lots of people flocking towards a prayer meeting. And I think it's probably because we don't have enough teaching on it, and we don't have the right mindset of prayer. First of all, I think what we'll do in this session is I will tell you some great experiences that I've had in prayer. This being our first session for our new prayer academy, and then what I'll do is in the next session I'll talk about how we change our mindset, and then we'll start looking at some of the outcomes of a good prayer life, and see where we go. Is that cool? I hope it is. So let's have a real quick chat. Let's work out why we want to pray more. I think one of my things about leading in general is that for me it's about I think if I can inspire you to want to pray more, then you're going to want to learn more about it, right? So let's see if we can inspire you. So I'll just tell two or three stories about prayer, and being in prayer meetings. I love a good prayer meeting. It's one of my favourite places to be. Let me think. My first, so I remember what was it? The first time I ever really prayed to God. And I think this was before as a Christian, was I started seeking him a little bit. I was like, God, I want to know more about you. I want to know whether you're there or not and all that sort of stuff. And so what I did was I remember praying this prayer. I was out fishing with my friend John Boy, and I was like, hey, God, I've never seen a pike. So if you could make it so that John could catch a pike, then I would really appreciate that, so that I can see it, So, and I remember like sitting there with John. Literally, I'd say 2 or 3 minutes later, and John's got this massive pike in his hand. Like, what is going on? So scary, because them things are scary fish, aren't they? But I remember like God answered my prayer almost instantly that time. I remember another time when I was praying, and where was I? I think I was at church this time, and again, I wasn't a Christian yet, but I had decided that because I'd seen a few funny coincidences or miracles, or God had answered some of my prayers, I decided that I would make a deal with Laura, to say, because she really wanted me to go to church. So I said to her, because I'm a bit clever like this, I thought, I can get the best of both worlds here, because I actually want to go to church to go and find out more about this God fella. So I said to her, if you let me play golf on Saturday, then I'll go to church on Sunday. So I got two pluses and she got one. That's a nice bonus, isn't it? So I remember I was in church this Sunday morning, and everyone was like worshipping and stuff, and I guess I was like, God, what is all this all about? Why are these people doing this thing? Why are they worshipping like this? And God just said to me, I remember it, like, it's so weird, like, thinking back to it, because I wasn't a Christian, and God was speaking to me, and I probably wouldn't have realised that God was speaking to me, but nowadays I'd say for sure God spoke to me, and He said, think about the things that are a blessing in your life. And this song was on, and it was called "Blessed Be Your Name." Every blessing you pour out, I'll turn back to praise. And and I just thought about like my life. I own my own company. I was doing really well. I had a beautiful wife and two beautiful kids. We were doing really well in life, and I just thought, wow, you actually have poured out your blessings on me. And then the words for the song came into my head. For every blessing that you pour out, I'll turn back to praise. And so I was like, it just dawned on me. I got this nowadays I'd call it a revelation. Like, I got this revelation. God deserves my praise. And so, like, this is before I was a Christian as well. Like, how crazy is this? And I remember just putting my hands up in worship. No one could see me. I was up in the balcony. I was the only one up there, trying to stand away with all the Christians who wanted to hug me. You know what I mean? How weird are they? And so I put my hands up in the air, and I said, "Praise your name, God. You're amazing, and you've blessed me." And I had this really cool spiritual experience where it felt like my whole body was tingling. And that came out of a prayer moment with God. The other thing that I remember when I first became a Christian, and the reason I'm telling you stories from when I first became a Christian, or just before I became a Christian, is I'm really aware that most of you guys haven't been on a journey as long as me, or maybe you haven't been on the same sort of depth of journey as me, and so it's good that I talk about stories of when I was in the place where you are now, if that makes sense. And so I remember I was in a prayer meeting. So at our church, we used to have prayer meetings, and there would be a prayer meeting on a Monday evening where all of the church would come together, and there'd be a prayer meeting on a Friday night when just the men came together, and then on Thursdays, I used to have a prayer meeting in my workplace. Anyway, so I'm in church on a Friday night, and there's a bunch of blokes sitting together. It's like probably the second or third time I've been there. I was a little bit nervous. I was a little bit like, this could be really boring, but I just really want to meet with God, because every time I turn up to one of these prayer meetings, I seem to meet with God. And so I was sitting there, and I've been praying for ages. I become a Christian in October. And first thing I said, one of the first things I said was, God, what's my calling? What do you want me to do? And my pastor said to me, Darren, I think you should learn to look after your wife and your family. I think that's what God wants you to do. And I was like, oh, yeah, of course, I'm going to do that anyway. But what does he want me to do? What big job have I got for God? And then I prayed, and I said, God, send a stranger to pray with me who doesn't know me, so I know that you're speaking to me. I didn't know at the time that's prophetic, But I remember praying that prayer, and I was at this conference in November, and this guy came over to me who's a total stranger and started praying for me and prayed that I would learn to look after my wife and family well. And I was like, oh, that's really interesting. But God, what do you want me to do for you? You know what I mean? Like, I want to change the world. Never mind changing the world, God was saying, I want you to look after your wife and your family. So I'm in this prayer meeting on a Friday night, and I'm like, got my eyes closed. I'm like just soaking up the atmosphere, like encountering God. And then all of a sudden, I heard this like African accent praying. Father, I pray that Darren would learn to look after his wife, Laura, and that he'd learn to look after his family, and that he would do those things really well for you and make that his ministry. And I was like, oh my days, that's got to be it. Maybe that's the prophetic word that I've been after, and all that sort of stuff. And so I turned around to this guy, an African guy in the room. I said, thank you so much. My name's Darren. My wife is Laura. You prayed for me and you didn't even know my name. That's so amazing. How did you do that? And he said, I didn't say anything. And then I was like, yeah, of course you did. You heard him. And I asked someone, said, you heard him? And they were like, no. And there's like 5 or 6 people. No one else heard this guy praying. I heard him as loud as day. I heard him so loud. Like, just proper, like God was speaking in that African accent and spoke out loud to me in this prayer meeting. And I was just like, oh, wow. And I'll be honest with you, I've always been into prayer meetings ever since. So, from that day, from the moment I become a Christian, I would turn up to like 3 prayer meetings a week, and then I would have a couple of other prayer times as well, like for different outreaches that I was running. And then on top of that, when I went to Bible college, I used to wake up at 8 a.m. every morning and go and pray in the auditorium before the other students come in. Every single morning, and then over the summer holidays, I would be like, a full day of prayer, sometimes even like a week of prayer, just praying, spending time in God's presence, because it's so important to me. And then I came to Lincoln, and I used to but I used to go down to the bandstand down here and just pray, rain, wind or snow, I'll be there. Sometimes laying down in that thing, praying and waiting for God just to come and meet with me in that same sort of way. Because prayer is so important. And for a long time, I got busy. And then just recently, God said to me, Darren, don't you think it's about time? Like, you said you're one of these buildings, so you'd have your own place to pray. And so I said, oh yeah, I think I should have a pray in the morning again. So started waking up a bit earlier, started praying 8 a.m. since last week, and my life is already like I feel so much more energized. I feel so much more like infused. I feel like I've got a much better connection with God and with other people as well. I feel like I'm just full of love again. I feel like it's all just starting to happen, and then loads of stuff is happening in church and stuff, and like people are meeting with God, and it's like it can't just be a coincidence. I think it's connected. It's because we've committed to prayer. And so I want to invite you. Would you commit to prayer? Would you go through this academy with me and think more about prayer and having a good prayer life? And join me in prayer at 8 a.m. in the mornings. This is it for now. I'll see you in a few moments.